everybody, it's Rory from ANSgear. We've got some new additions to the HK standard regulator lineup. We've seen the standard high pressure output, or the HP8 right here, which has been common on the new regulator, and these put out about an 800 psi output or so, but people have been asking for a mid and a low pressure option on this regulator. So now we've got a HP, which is our 800 output. Now we've got an LP, which is our like 250 to 300 output, and then also an MP, which is going to be like our 450 to 500 psi output. If you're looking for an option as far as regulator output pressures, but you like that standard reg build, now you've got three options total: an 800, a roughly 500, and a roughly 300 psi output. Now, also, they're selling the piston and shim stack setups if you already have the high pressure output bottle. I guess if you have any of them, it really doesn't matter. You could throw this in there. So doing it is very simple. There's two reg piston setups right here. We've got an MP, which the MP500 right here. This reg and shim stack assembly is the same one that comes in the MP reg. And then we've got the LP one right here, which is the same stack that comes in the LP reg right there. To switch these out, first off, we want to make sure our tank is degassed. We don't want to have any air pressure in our regulator. And we would want to check by taking the cap off of here. And these caps can be a little hard to get off right at the beginning here. You got to be able to get your fingers underneath them. And we want to push down on the top of our pin right there to make sure that we've got no pressure coming out. Next, we're going to open that reg up. Once we're positive that we are out of pressure or lacking pressure, there's two set screws on the side right here. We're going to take these set screws out. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to unscrew the bonnet off the top of the regulator. Now you got a couple things to worry about when you're inside there. You've got your pin, which comes up through the top right there, and it has this little sealing face on it right there. So if you ever get a leak that's directly out the top of your regulator, it's typically because that seal right there has failed, or maybe it's got some dirt or debris on it, which is causing it not to be able to seal, and air's escaping by there. So where'd you go? That's going to be up inside there. So when you take the bonnet off, like we just did, be careful that that doesn't fall on the ground and get lost. And then also the spring is going to be inside there too. Now sometimes that spring will stay attached to the bottom of the pin. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes that spring gets nestled way down inside here. And you got to make sure that you don't lose it. So you just want to turn that over and pull those two pieces out and put them to the side so you don't lose them. Now we're going to grab a hold of our piston. We're just going to wiggle it and pull at the same time. And the whole assembly should come out just like that. Then we can take our MP setup or our LP setup and we just do the reverse. We're going to drop it down inside there and then reassemble. There are two O-rings. There's one O-ring right here and one O-ring right here. You want to put a little bit of grease on those when you put them in there. Not a tremendous amount, just a little bit. And since we are working with a high pressure system right here, make sure whatever you are using is not petroleum based. That can cause some real issues right there. So any kind of paintball grease or oil will be just fine. But true paintball, not just the grease that you're using in a paintball gun, but a paintball branded oil or grease. So we put that back in there. We take our new piston, whichever one we're going to be using. Make sure our O-rings are greased up. And since we've got the bonnet apart and the piston out, clean it up inside there. You might have a little bit of dirt. You might have tiny little brass metal shavings or whatever you've got inside there. Just clean it out. Get a Q-tip, clean it all out, make sure it looks pretty before we drop our new piston back in there. So whatever it happens to be, the LP3, the MP5, take that, make sure we've got a little bit of lubrication on it, push it down inside there, make sure our spring is in there, our pin is in there, and then we're going to take that and make sure our pin comes up through the top, thread it back together, put our screws back in, and we are done. Now I do not believe and again, I don't know for sure, that they're going to sell like different bands. So if you switch to the LP and you had an HP regulator to start with, you're still going to have that band on there that says HP. Now, I mean, if it's your reg, you'll remember, hopefully, that that's not the correct output pressure on there. But, you know, maybe they'll sell the green band and the blue band by themselves, and you'll be able to switch those out if you so choose. But anyway, that's what we got going on right here. Brand new output pressures for the HK standard regulator. We've got the standard HP8, the 800 PSI output, the MP5, which is the 500 PSI output, the LP3, the 300 PSI output, or the piston assemblies, so you can adjust it if you've got one or the other. They're in stock right now. Pick those up at ANSgear.com.